Legacies is the third installment in the extremely popular Vampire Diaries universe. Being a spin-off of two incredibly successful TV shows was always bound to be an immense amount of pressure for any writer, as it's such big shoes to fill. And despite the show's early successes and its predicted popularity, the show completely failed in eyes of fans and the critics. So, what went wrong? I'm Charming Cinema, and today we will be looking at the rise and the fall of the TV show Legacies. Legacies aired in 2018 and starred Daniel Rose Russell as Hope MIKAELSON. This character and actress were introduced in the originals, which was the first spin-off of the Vampire Diaries. Hope MIKAELSON is the daughter of KLAUS MIKAELSON, who was such a beloved character in the Vampire Diaries that he got his own show, which was the originals. The original's entire premise was about Hope MIKAELSON's existence. She was the magical miracle child and the most powerful being to ever exist in the universe, and she too quickly became a fan favorite. Giving her her own TV show makes perfect sense, as when the originals ended, there was still so much to see and explore about Hope, which resulted in the creation of Legacies. In addition to Hope, we also have Kaylee Bryant, who played Josie SALTZMAN, the daughter of Alark Saltzman and Caroline Forbes, and her twin sister, Lizzie Saltzman, played by Jenny Boyd. The other two main characters, who would later become one of the most criticized aspects of the show, include Landon Kirby, played by Arya, and I'm so sorry I don't know his last name and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not even going to try, and Alark Saltzman, played by Brett Matthews. The show's premise is the new generation of characters we had grown to love learn how to covet their supernatural abilities at the Salvatore School for the Young and the Gifted. Think dark academia reminiscent of Harry Potter. The show had a decently interesting premise and, as explained earlier, a very large preset fan base. So again, what went so wrong with it? I have picked out 5 major reasons why I believe the show has fallen apart and continues to fail episode after episode. So let's begin. Number 1. What happened during the Season 2 and Season 3 hiatus? During the filming of Legacy's second season, the show had to be cut short due to the rise in the COVID-19 pandemic. The season didn't get a real finale and it left fans disappointed. However, people were still excited to see the rest of the season, whenever it would get to air. Legacy's Season 3 picked up where the unplanned finale of Season 2 left off, which aired in January of 2021, which means the show was on a roughly 9-month hiatus. After such a long pause in the show's airing, the viewership did drop slightly between the last few episodes of Season 2 compared to the first few of Season 3, but not a huge change, at least not yet. Something else that happened between the Season 2 and Season 3 hiatus, which made a significant impact on the show, was the change in leadership behind the scenes. During the pause, Julie Plec, who was the showrunner and head writer of The Vampire Diaries and the originals and Legacies, she left and signed the show over to co-writer Brett Matthews. The change in writing, the thematic differences, and even the personality difference for the characters between Season 2 and Season 3 were very noticeable. So while many people might have been tuned in for Season 3 premiere, due to these changes, the viewership consistently continued dropping, as many of the things the fans loved about the first 2 seasons just seemed different, and something about the whole thing just felt off. Number 2. Landon Kirby. I know there's a community of people out there who are ride or die for Landon, so I want to make it clear that I do not hate this character and I wish nothing but the best for Arya. However, my personal feelings aside, Landon Kirby's influence on this show cannot be ignored. Landon Kirby was introduced to be a love interest for Hope MIKAELSON. He first appeared in the last season of the originals, but didn't become a real part of the story until Legacy's Season 1. Throughout Season 1 and Season 2, people complained that Landon had too big of a role in the story, as everything seems to revolve around him. He has the super cool, unexplained magical abilities. His father and mother played a huge role in the story arc, as did his brother, and his father was revealed to be the big bad. Obviously, hearing all of that out of context, it would seem obvious that this is the main character of a story. However, Landon wasn't the main character. Our main characters, or at least the ones we wanted to watch, were the Legacies, such as Hope, Josie, and Lizzie. The criticism of Hope's sidelining became really clear during Season 3. Landon dies towards the beginning of Season 3, and the rest of the season, Hope's only personality trait became getting him back and burning every single bridge to do it. This isn't that out of character for Hope, and it's not a big problem to me. She is a MIKAELSON and this is what they do. However, in general, it just didn't make for a good story, as this is something the show has already done like 4 times at this point. Landon's main point in this story is to die and then come back and then die, come back and do it over again. Landon died at the beginning of season 3 and then came back in the 8th episode, only for it to be revealed that Landon wasn't Landon, instead it was a golem. Then the golem dies and the real Landon comes back. Only wait, nope, that's not actually Landon, that's his father, Malivore, possessing him. Hope then kills Landon while his father is possessing him and yada 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 yada. Mind you, all of this was happening in one season. This isn't even including the times he died and came back in season 1 and season 2. You can't redo the same plot points over and over again and expect people to care, especially when you're doing it with a character that people don't particularly care about in the first place. I could sit here forever and explain in detail why this was dumb and talk about the underlining sexist tones of Hope getting sidelined in her own story, but I don't have all day, so let's just move on. Number 3, Matt Davis. This is another one I don't want to focus on too much, so let's just make it quick. Matt Davis plays a Lark Saltzman who's been around since the beginning of the Vampire Diaries. The actor has been revealed to be quite racist, sexist, homophobic, and pretty much just problematic in every single way, so fans wanted him to be removed from the show. Despite that, 2 seasons later, he's still here. Not only is he problematic, but he is also just a pretty boring character who doesn't add anything to the show. This also comes into play later, so we'll just leave it at that for now. Number 4, the Monster of the Week. This is going to be another short one. The Vampire Diaries and the originals had a dark and mature tone, and it always felt like there were stakes. By introducing a Monster of the Week format, the show felt like it was for children, as it got rid of any suspense and seriousness, and the big bad was a literal mudman. If they wanted to adopt this format to find their footing in season 1 and then defeat Malivore in the finale, that would have been fine. But keeping these ridiculous monsters that make the show seem like a joke for 4 seasons truly set the show up for failure. Not to mention the fact that Malivore was the villain of the show for 3 seasons. 3. Which is just so long, as it was the only storyline we ever got to see. And overall, he just completely fails as an interesting villain. He has no real motivations, he's not even a real person who could talk. He's literally just a pile of mud. We hardly even see fight scenes with Malivore, as it's always one of the ridiculous monsters he sends. So of course, without a compelling villain, the show was doomed from the start. Okay, let's talk about Hosie. Number 5, Hosie and Josie's departure. If we were ranking these in order of significance, this one would definitely go first, but as it's the longest, I decided to put it last. Now listen, regardless on your own personal opinions about Hosie, everything I'm about to say is just true. Hosie is the ship between Hope MIKAELSON and Josie SALTZMAN. It is by far the biggest ship among the fans and cast, and was supported to an extreme extent. As the ship revolves around 2 gay women, let me just get this out of the way. These 2 were 100% queerbaited, as they were constantly talked about by the cast and the writer, Julie Plec, and I'm not going to spend too much time picking apart the queerbait of Hope and Josie and all the romantic undertones of their scenes because it would take forever. Maybe I can make a separate video for that, but let's just say they were definitely queerbaited, and had several obvious romantic scenes, including scenes of them very clearly saying they had previous feelings for each other. Like I said, this ship was extremely popular, and a large part of the viewers were only watching for these 2. Not only their relationship, but they're also 2 of the few characters with real personalities and meaningful storylines. Kaylee Bryant announced her exit on December 16th of 2021, right after Legacies episode Season 4, Episode 9 had aired. Kaylee Bryant's exit and all the rumors behind it could be its own video, so let me just try to sum it up very quickly. It's rumored that Kaylee Bryant left due to racism and homophobia from Matt Davis and showrunner Brett Matthews behind the scenes. This was pretty much confirmed by a makeup artist who used to work on Legacies, as he explained that Kaylee really pushed for Hosie as the representation of 2 gay women having the slow burn of 4 seasons on a teen TV show has never been done before, and the representation would mean a lot for people. Allegedly, Brett Matthews really did not want this, and that caused Kaylee to leave. Also, their entire exit statement was about sexuality, which kind of makes this rumor even more likely to be true. The episode that aired after Kaylee's exit was the lowest viewed episode among all 3 shows, and the views have continued to increasingly drop since, with some sporadic successes such as the MIKAELSON reunion episode. However, that episode only even got roughly 400,000 views, which is very bad for any show, but especially one with such a star-studded cast. Hosie is not the only reason the show failed, however, it was absolutely the nail in the coffin for Legacies. In conclusion, the failure of Legacies is insane to look at compared to the Vampire Diaries in the originals. Even breaking it down like this, it doesn't make sense how Brett Matthews and even Julie Plec failed this hard and almost ruined the entire Vampire Diary universe's reputation. It's very sad to look at all the potential Legacies had to be an amazing show, and it's currently not even being renewed for a 5th season. I think most likely that they will give them a season 5 with 10 episodes, or maybe they'll even go the full 20, but there's utterly no way that Legacies is seen as season 6. Again, the whole thing is pretty crazy, and it's really disappointing to see what happened to a show that started with millions of viewers. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. This is my first video, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing yet, but I hope you guys enjoyed.